So when was the last time you put money back into your property as investment for something that wasn't broken, but just a way to spruce it up and make it a property that you think would be more desirable to the tenants? Hey, what's up? Happy New Year. It is the first week of January. Thanks so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I try to get you these videos once a week just to let you know what's going on in the marketplace and here in the Phoenix area, both from the sales and management rental side of things, from the perspective of those that are doing it as an investor and as a real estate broker, the types of things that we're seeing. Hey, so this week I've had, we're leaning into the next year, and let me start with a few stats from what we saw from last year. We've seen rents increase across the board. It's pretty much increasing. I'll get back to that in a second. I don't want to give you any percentages because it's different for every municipality. However, in the grand scheme of things, rents have increased. When it comes to selling, when it comes to properties for sale, right now we are at our listing count, active listings are 40% higher than they were at this time last year, which means we have more inventory. Sales are 5% higher as well. So cool, 5% higher. Sales are higher. That's great. However, we have more inventory. So odds of getting the buyer quicker has gone down over the last year because inventory has gone up, and realistically, demand has stayed pretty constant. Now, we had a big drop in interest rates. I say big drop, but it was we had a blip, a drop in interest rates in October, like the very end of September. Bam! Then since beginning of October, they've continued to rise and have leveled off I don't want to give you numbers, but they're in not in the strongest of numbers. But what we saw, what was interesting at the end of September was in that week or two that interest rates were sliding down, there was a lot of buyer confidence, buyer sentiment. And the last few comps that we've run for properties that are for sale, we've got like a big pool of properties that we're selling right now. And looking at the comps and looking at those in the area, seeing the trends for when people actually put these properties under contract over the last 6 months, it was when that dip happened, of course, right? You'd think buyers are, waiting for interest rates to drop, so they're going to jump on them. Of course they are. And that's how now we have to be thinking about this market is as we lean into 2025, what are the things that buyers want to see in properties? Is just doing the marketing and the things that we need to going to get the offers? We put one on the market last week. We got an amazing offer this week. More than likely by the end of the day, it's going to be accepted. Awesome. Does that happen every time? No. But the demand for this particular type of property is harder to find. Not only that, though, gets back to my original point. How much money are we investing in these properties to either re-rent them or to sell them? Now, on the sales side, I could speak from experience because we've been doing this all last year. I want the sexiest house in the neighborhood. Not necessarily the most money spent on it, but I want it the cleanest. When buyers are buying houses in this market, they're extending themselves. They're putting as much of that they have as down payment or as closing costs or now to pay their realtor, whatever. We haven't seen that yet, but it's happening. And the last thing they want to have to do is to then buy a refrigerator or, worry about the carpet. Back in the day, we'd be able to package that into the actual transaction. Well, cool. You want carpet? You know what? We'll give you a credit for it. Hey, you want to, replace the roof? Awesome. No problem. We'll somehow come up with that and make it happen at the close of escrow. That market has changed a lot. It's harder now. So harder from a financing perspective. So that means the product has to be ready to go. And if it's not, then it's not going to be the property that most buyers at just about every price point are looking for unless you're selling it to an investor and really digging into what your margins would be because investors just aren't buying what they were before. So I think that's something to think about. On the rental side, it's the same thing. If your property, like if you've had a property for the last few years and we know that rents are going up, rents went up again this year. However, hold on. What are these rental numbers telling me? I'm in this business, and let me tell you what it's telling me. It's telling me that the stuff that's hitting the market is better than it was a year ago. I might be totally wrong. I mean, literally, if I'm wrong with this one, that's okay. But what I see in this market is we've got all these high-rise apartments, which are brand new and sexy. We got all these new properties. We got hedge funds who are dumping tons of money into their properties to keep them going. So when they're turning them, they're reinvesting them. We got certain areas where there are new builds that are beating us out on the rental side and driving our prices down, but keeping the prices that we used to have. Like it's kind of interesting. So it's like, what are we really competing with in this market with your property? And if your property doesn't quite match that standard, we got to come off the price. Or we just have to look at it through the eyes of a potential tenant. And what are they looking at, and how does that shake out? Just because we have the property on paper that we think people want doesn't mean it's going to go for the most in rents or is going to be as desirable as the next house that was just completely remodeled, or maybe not completely remodeled, but just fresher, right? So these are all things and ways that if your properties, as we go into this next year, if we think it's going to start to sit, we're going to start giving you more feedback, because again, our job is to make your property more profitable for you and rent it in a shorter amount of time, but also get you, like, be as transparent as possible with you as to what we're seeing in the market, as we're the experts and the ones that should be giving you that qualified advice so that you can trust, like, hey, we got your back. We want to make sure that we're getting you to the finish line with the best tenant, the quickest time, for the most money. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching.